So that was a huge turning point for me and my business. And that's when it kind of went from having those awful weeks to having a lot more good days.
All right, Grady Polson here, the America Agency. Excited to have Dominick Scalice on with us right now, coming out of Boca Raton, Florida. And crazy cool story on what's possible in this business. He'll tell how he was introduced to it, how he got started, and then he'll talk about what he's doing. But just a couple highlights that you're going to hear about. He's producing nearly 30 families protected per month right now. At the same time, leading a team doing 170 families protected per month, which is great numbers. He's a vice president now. What's your team name?
Vantage Financial.
Advantage Financial. I like it.
Vantage.
All right. Vantage. Forget the
Yeah.
app. Just Vantage. Vantage. All right. Hey, VF. All right. I like it. Vantage Financial. And but it's his business, right? That's his. He owns it. It's his. It's connected to him. It's attached to him. And that's what's fun, is to create something, to build something, to have something, to own it, and then to build it as big as you want. That's what we can do here. That's what's possible in this industry, is to build something as big as you want it to get. And if you want to have a small business, great. Love you fun. You want to have a giant business? Great. We love you too. But the choice is yours. However, how many people you want to introduce, how hard you want to work, how much you want to sell, the choice is yours. And so, Dominick, man, excited to have you on. And I remember meeting you in Dallas last year. And and you and your young guy, it's like your little frat group you've got there, guys. A financial frat, we'll call it, right? But hey, it's a brotherhood. It's guys coming together, challenging each other, pushing them to work hard. And you need that, right? As I said earlier, lone wolves die alone. And that's a sad statement, but many people don't seek out coaching, or they don't seek out mentorship or people to learn from, because they're pride, ego, it's arrogance, right? I can figure it out on my own. I don't need help. And the reality is that we've all gotten to where we are today, this minute right now, with what we've been afforded, the information we've received from books we've read, experiences we've had, people we've talked to. And you found a new industry, chose to change all that, and are starting to hit the cover off the ball, man. So I'd love to pass it to you. Give us a little background, where you're from, how you found the industry, and what you're excited about.
Yeah. So first off, about the lone wolf, I think if I were a lone wolf starting off in this, I would still be at the valet parking cars, because it's so important to keep learning. Everyone that's on this call right now is hungry to learn, and that's where progression starts. If you don't want to learn, you already lost. So it's huge to be on here. Yeah, starting off, I grew up in upstate New York. Moved on down to Florida to go to FAU for school. I graduated last year with a marketing degree. And then I realized I don't want to do marketing for someone else's company, someone else's business, helping them live out their dream. So I was valet parking cars at the mall, Boca Town Center Mall, just last year. And then everything kind of changed. Sean pulled up to the valet, kind of said, "What do you guys have to lose? You're sitting around here parking cars. Take the test." So I took my life insurance test, passed it, and it's been a wild ride since.
Did that work was it a one valet pitch close? Like Sean just was like, "Let's go," or did he have to drip on you a few times, or how did that work?
So we've seen him around the valet a bunch. He's talked to some of the guys before, but no one took the leap. No one really saw it through, gave it their all. So I took the full leap, put in my 2 weeks as soon as I passed my test, and I really wanted this to win. I think that's what you need. You need to make it work rather than wanting it to work. So I dove in head first. Before we had the office here, I realized early on you have to plug yourself in. So I hopped right on live dials, which was a huge way for me to learn. Just listening to other people that have been doing this longer than I have, and quite frankly, way better at it. So I didn't do any sales prior, so it was a huge industry change for me coming out of the service industry. Um, I realized I didn't want to be there forever. It's obviously a decent money, but no one wants to park cars their whole life. So I realized I had to do something else in that time as well.
Yeah, that's our CEO leading by example. You know, you can't turn it off, right? It's just in you. He
No.
wants to help people, wants to make them better, wants to give them a better life, wants to put in a better situation, sees potential in someone. Maybe you, you know, had a, you're, you know, that's just how Sean is. So I love it, man. So marketing though, you chose marketing for a reason. Did that from parental influence? Do you like are you creative? How did you choose to get into marketing as far as your degree goes, you know, kind of backing up a tiny bit, because you could have picked engineering or you could have picked, landscape design, there's a multitude of things you could have picked, but you chose marketing, which is one of my favorite things, just because you're creative, you get to design things, you get to think about the way people think and what message can I put out there that resonates with them where they are today. How did that work for you?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me choosing the marketing was A, it's applicable to a lot of different stuff. So I wasn't really honing in on one sort of job, I guess. I could have done anything with it. And even today, it kind of helps me a little bit with my own business, which is the best part. I was also thinking about job security. I feel marketing is a huge industry, and that's what kind of propels businesses. The better you can market what you have and what you have to offer and what sets you apart, that's where the difference is made in growth as well.
I like that. Now, are your parents entrepreneurs?
Um, no, so I guess my dad is a little bit. He is in construction, has his own company with that.
There you go.
Um, family's all in construction for the most part. And I kind of see the hard work it takes when he would come home late, go to work at 5 a.m. I saw that growing up. So it was a huge part um, of why I am here today and have always been such a hard worker, even at the valet. But just because you are a hard worker, you can be in the wrong opportunity and have the right mindset. So I realized no matter how good I was at parking cars, guy next to me that's not doing anything on his phone, we're getting paid the same amount. So that was a huge reason why getting into this industry, it was really cool that how far you progress and how good you get at selling and explaining to others the opportunity. That's what determines what you get paid. So that was huge reason why I looked into this industry as well.
Got it. What did you, so you, did you, so Sean drives up, says, get your license, gets your number, and 2 weeks later you have your license and you're like, I'm out, and you just quit. Is that the story? I mean, anything dramatic? Did you throw papers in the air? Like, or how did that go?
Nothing too dramatic. I think the biggest part of the reason why I did take that leap is how Sean carries himself, which it's, he didn't, there's a lot of successful people in Boca Raton, Florida. And there's a lot of people that will pull up with their car, Ferrari or Lamborghini, whatever it is, and they throw the money at you and say, leave it up front, don't touch my car. But when Sean pulled up, he did not do that at all. He handed us each $50, which was huge. It's an $8 parking. There was five guys there, and he didn't say leave it up front. He didn't say don't touch my car or anything. He just walked in. So we were kind of like, whoa, who is this guy? Why is he respectful? Actually, seems like he cares. And on the way out, we just kind of asked him, hey, what do you do? And that's what kind of set him apart because there's been other people and other opportunities just at that valet. That's kind of the reason I was drawn to Boca because there is so many opportunities, but finding the right person that's going to help you get there, that's going to respectfully get you there. That was the main reason.
Awesome. It's awesome, man. Okay, so let's talk about the beginning, right? So you get your license, you get contract, and you navigate a bunch of crazy websites and docu-signs and contracting and all the fun things that E&O insurance, the part that you've got to get through, right? Often sometimes you're like, if they can't figure out contracting, are they gonna be able to figure out the e-app? And sometimes that can be a filtering process for this business. But so for you, you get through all that stuff. How does your first week, month, couple months go? Were you just
Yeah.
a sales savant out the gates, or did you struggle like the rest of us? How did it go?
I had a lot of struggle the first month, first 3 months really. I wanted to try in-home. I heard that was the easiest way to establish trust, which is very true. And I was booking all these appointments, driving all over Florida, sitting in traffic, and when I would get there, the people wouldn't even be home. So it was tough days the first few weeks. I knew I needed something to change, and but even in the bad times, there were promising days to where my first week I got 2 sales in one day. That was $900 combined. So that, 900 at the time, that was 2 weeks at the valet. So that at that point, that's when I put in the 2 weeks, actually, not right off rip. But at that point, I realized if I barely know what I'm doing and I stumble through an Americo app, not even knowing what I'm doing, when I figure this out, it's going to be huge. And the biggest part is I didn't just stop there right off rip. I was telling people at the valet exactly how it was going, very honestly as well. Like today was terrible. I didn't make a sale today. And then the next day I got two today. And so when they kind of realized that, they were right behind me. A month later, two guys from the valet, AJ and Thomas, came right with me. So I realized early on that not only should I keep this hidden to myself, but I also wanted to show others and grow with others, with this process together, kind of like run buddies as well. So the Zoom was huge, but having that person right next to you that you could really, kind of push them a little bit, physically push them, that's when it kind of gets to the point where, if I'm slacking off, they're there to help me. They're there to push me, vice versa. So that's been huge. And having this office here is how we've been able to grow so quickly as well. It's just like you said, it's almost like a fraternity, except paying dues, we just make money instead. But it's been super cool to push each other and kind of grow, not only in insurance, not only in sales, but grow as people. Because I'll tell you right now, I'm not the same person I was, sitting at the valet stand last year. So
That's
it's been really cool.
That's the best, right? If you're not growing, you're dying, or if you're
Mhm.
not winning, you're learning. But in business, I've always learned that there's three people you want to have in your business environment, right? Someone you are coaching, like a mentee. So in your situation, seems like AJ and Thomas, and granted, maybe you're just a little bit ahead of them, but now they've ascended. Now they're your running buddies, right? So someone you're coaching, someone you're running with along your same line, and then someone you're learning from. So a mentee, a mentor, and then a running buddy. So it seems like you check a lot of those boxes based on where the business environment you're at now. So
Yeah.
started it in home, which is great. Are you still in home, or did you transition to a hybrid, or how's your sales process now?
So I was doing in home for the first 2 months, and then Marissa had a lock in Arizona. I, was this was right before the two of them started with me. So I went out on my lonesome to Arizona, meet the team that I've been talking with on Zoom, it was good that I was plugged in prior to that. But when I got to Arizona, I realized I didn't rent a car, so I had no way to do in homes. So I said, this is my chance, this is my opportunity to try over the phone sales, see if it's viable. I know it's harder, but there's going to be the best people in the, agency there, so I could learn from them. So in those two days at the lock-in, I was able to sell 3 policies. First time talking selling over the phones. So at that point, I realized, I was like, wow, like I can do that. So then when I came running back to Florida, and I was like, hey guys, this is crazy. We can do it over the phone. We don't have to drive anywhere anymore. So that was a huge turning point for me and my business. And that's when it kind of went from having those awful weeks to having a lot more good days. And that's what it's all about. If you can outstack the bad times and the rough days, because there still is, those days for sure. But if you can see past that, that's when it really changes. So it was really, really big turning point for me, that lock in.
So 3 policies sold. What was the production? Do you remember the numbers were that you sold? Did it pay for the trip at least?
Yeah, pay for the trip. I think it was like 3,100 or something like that. So it was a really cool turning point, and in just 2 days, never selling over the phone before. So, just reading from the script there, and that's all it really took. And I wasn't good either. But I've slowly progressed it to make it sound a little bit better as well.
That's great. That's part of it. I mean, it's repetition, right? You do it, you do
Yeah,
more of anything, you get good at it, right? Uh,
exactly.
so I tell my little dude in soccer, he plays more video games than he does go practice soccer, yet he wants me to pay for club soccer. And I'm like, listen, bro, we're gonna have figure out a balance here because this isn't working. So same thing applies in business is the more you do the script, the more you talk to, the more interactions you have with customers, learn the fine made objections of, they have a policy, they need to think about it, they can't afford it, they have a policy through work, they have a bank policy. You just start to learn how to navigate these things and how to have a few different responses to them. All of
Yeah.
a sudden the business becomes very, very crystal clear because you've heard all the responses before. And it's hard to get that into new agents' heads. It's like, listen, they're not just sitting around at the YMCA getting how to not buy insurance from Dom courses. They don't go there every Tuesday night and go, all right, now if he says this is your response to make sure you don't buy insurance. No, they're just normal people who our job is to just navigate the confusing part that maybe in the beginning. But as we always talk about, leads are people that just love their family more than anybody else because that's why they filled out a request and they're waiting for a stranger to call them to talk about their loved ones. So good for you, bro, for pushing through and figuring it out.
Yeah.
So,
And that's what I realized as well with finding the pain points. Because I used to read religiously off a script. Like I didn't know my own name off a script. But once you kind of realize that it's just talking to them over the phone, they just want you to realize that you care about them and you want to figure out what they need and fill that need. It's not even really sales at that point. It's more so just filling an order. So really hearing them and hearing what they actually need, opposed to sticking to the script like glue, that's what really makes your clients trust you more. And that's what it's all about, not just following the script or selling whatever you can.
amen. So you get home and now you're focused on virtual, which is just on it's just from I mean it's virtual sounds very AI, but it's like you're just selling over the phone or Zoom if they need. A lot of people use Crankwheel now to show illustrations, which is a cool software. So let's talk about that. I want to get to more on pain points, talk about how you dig into that when we get to your script. But what leads are you working now? What is your, let's fast forward a little bit. What is your process now today to get clients? What is, from a lead standpoint, what are you investing a week? What is your appointment goal, dial goal? Like how do you set that up? If I'm a new agent, tell me what you do and what the goals are for an agent getting started.
Yeah, so we do a lot of final expense. We're getting into IULs as well, but we know final expense like the back of our hands.
Right?
Um, as far as leads, I personally spend about $1,000 in leads a week,
Okay.
and that when I started, I heard that before, and I was like, "That's crazy." But since then, I've kind of realized you need to scale up. So as you make the more sales, it allows you rather than going on vacation a month into the business. No, you take everything you made from your sales, put it back into leads, and that allows you to really scale it to put in $1,000 a month, five, six, $7,000 a month in leads. Um, as far as all final expense all over the phone. And what we've kind of realized is you need to use those tools, any tools that you can, to gain the trust over the phone because it's a lot different than in home. So we use stuff like toolkits, making business cards virtually so that you could send it out to the clients so they can understand, as well as with quoting it, it's a lot easier of a process compared to fumbling through trying to figure out what product they can get. Boom, you find it in a few minutes. So all those kind of tools have allowed us to excel online, as well as Crankwheel. That's also a huge one. um, but that's what it kind of looks like with the final expense.
Um, okay. What, if you do you remember, what was your best week you made valeting cars?
A good week at the valet was like $700
What was your best week?
whole week, 40 hours
Okay, what was your best week?
at the valet.
Yeah.
uh it's like 800.
Okay. And now you spend more than that a week on your business.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of it. You're like, that's crazy. So trying to
Yeah.
explain that to your ballet buddies, they're like, no, bro, you can't. That, and all of a sudden it's like, that doesn't make any, but the difference is now instead of trading time for dollars, you're trading an investment, you're trading an investment in your business for dollars.
Yeah.
And it's a mindset shift, which is now because you're a business owner, it's a different approach. You're an entrepreneur, right? But if you don't invest the leads and make the dials, it just becomes an expense. It doesn't become an investment. And that's a
Yeah.
very telling thing for someone as they ascend in this business. They're like, well, I'll spend $700 on leads. And if I don't make, all my money back times five, this doesn't work. And you're like, well, what are your skill set at when you first start? Your skill set is non-existent. And so for you now to be at this level where you see what you invest, you return, and granted, asterisks galore, this is a business, this is an opportunity. The reality is you've got, you could spend $1,000 and make no money, right? However, if you grow your skill set and you solve problems and you become a solution or a person for our clients, there's a good chance that they'll want to move forward with you and purchase a product, and the insurance companies pay us a commission for doing so. Welcome to insurance sales. So I love it, bro. So what type of leads are you running now for $1,000 a week? What is the type? What is your favorite type?
Yeah. So we do in-house veterans final expense leads,
Veteran
as
side.
well as some IULs.
Okay.
A lot of final expense, and it's something that we realized it's good to have your own lead source in a way, as well as finding multiple. Because if you rely too heavily on one, anything can change with leads. You want to make sure that you have a vast amount of resources to depend upon for your business. Um, as well as with the IULs, IULs are something we're still trying to figure out as much. It's something newer for us, but we're taking the time and using the resources to invest in that as well. And whenever you do buy leads, you're investing in yourself. That's what kind of sets it apart. I don't see it as an expense when I'm betting on myself. So that's how you have to see it. And yeah.
So just for those who don't know, what is a veteran lead?
Yeah, so it's geared toward veterans looking to cover their burial costs. And a lot of times veterans think that the VA will cover that for them, but all the VA covers is like $300.
Wow.
So that's a big misconception that we have to get across and make sure that they actually do have the coverage in place for their kids, for their wife, whatever it may be. So it's been huge for us, and it's also really cool to be helping someone that served our country. So that's also huge that we are able to help them out, making sure that their family's set up.
Yeah. So that's kind of it's like the simplified versus fully underwritten type battle, right? Final expense, veteran leads is now money, right? If you get them approved today, you should get paid tomorrow. And IUL, generally sometimes based on the health of the person or of the size of the policy, there's some underwriting components, there's some paramedics that might have to go out, attending physician statements, which are great. But if you get an IUL that's a $300, $400, $500, $1,000 a month IUL, the target premium on that is gigantic. And so the compensation is significantly larger, but it also might take a month or three to close. Now, granted, when it closes, it's great. The client's happy. We're very happy, but it's just a longer sales cycle. So it's good that you're focusing on both, right? Because
Yeah.
final expense, as great as it is, the persistency can be a little lower in general because a lot of those clients are shoppers, right? They might go, oh, I got this great policy with Dom, but well, let me see what else is out there that I could save a buck or two. And so it also, I want to get towards, what you do to solidify your client sales, but it's also great to be working both because that really solidifies where you are as a broker. Because at the same standpoint, that final expense lead who might be 65 and older, they've got kids who might be in their 40s or 30s or 20s who might be going, hey, John, we had a great time taking care of you. Now, part of my business is making sure we cover the whole family. Is there anybody that you think you could refer me to if you're happy with the job I've done for you today? And well, you know what? My son actually needs something. He just had a baby. John, guess what? I got some time on my calendar. What's your son's name and number? Oh, his name's Tim. Here's his number, right? All of a sudden now John becomes a referral source. And those are the best leads you can get because they don't cost anything. So I love it, man. So let's talk about your sales. Like what I want to hear what you say to move to take control at the beginning of the call, move them to action, move them forward.
Yeah. So in the beginning, I've realized it's really important to make them remember uh, that they filled something out. So a lot of times, if you just say, "Hey, you remember filling this out," they're not going to remember. So that's why data points are huge. You want to get those data points out as soon as you can, whether it's date of birth, the address they put down. Um, Once you get those data points, it makes them realize that you don't just know their first name. They actually did fill something out. So that's where the trust starts, as well as just going into health questions. So once you kind of make them remember, you reiterate that their information, they go, oh yeah, I did fill that out. So once you establish
How do you
that,
do
you
it
want,
just for the brand new agents that are going, I want to say it like Dom does. How
yeah.
do you say it?
Hey, John, Dominick here. I'm giving you a call because I see you recently filled out my form here on Facebook. It looks like you put down that you served in the Army here, and you put your date of birth as the 10/11/1989. I'm assuming that's correct. And
Yeah.
that's how I established the data points rather than trying to make them remember if they did it or not. A lot of the times they're older, they don't remember something they did online. So getting out those data points establishes the trust off rip. And then you just kind of find the need. Thank them for their service and see what they were looking for. Were you looking to cover the burial or leave some money behind for the family? What'd you have in mind? And just kind of keep it a casual conversation. They don't want to feel like they're being sold, and they definitely don't want to feel like you're interrogating them or anything. So if you just treat them like people and try to connect with them, be friendly, matching their tone is huge as well. If someone answers the phone yelling, "Hey, John," I'll go right back at them. So you have to match the tone wherever they're at. That's a big part of it as well.
What do you do? How do you tell them who you are? Like how do you set credibility for who you are?
Yeah, I'll say I'm the underwriter that's been assigned to your case here. Um, a little bit of good news and a little bit about myself is I don't just work for one company. I have access to all the companies you can get approved with in the state. So I established that I'm not just trying to sell them one product. We have access to all the best ones here, and I think that's important to your point as well of making sure that they're not going for price, because if you establish you do have the best companies available, which we do, which is pretty cool, it allows them to feel safer and not like they're doing the shopping around. We do that for them
Yeah.
as well.
How many states do you have?
Like 40.
40. Good.
40 states.
It gives you
Yeah.
options, man. It's another investment in your business, but now you're set up to sell nationwide, which is awesome. So,
Yeah.
okay, so you take control. Now, is there anything you do in the any domisms, any one-liners you're saying at certain parts where you're asking health or money, income, or occupation currently? Are what do you kind of give us the kind of the next 30, 60 seconds too, so people can kind of get.
Yeah.
That's always the hardest part, right? If you can get the client on the phone for 60, 90 seconds, they're not that busy doing something else they can't pay attention to, right? Oh, I'm busy right now. Or where are you? Okay, perfect. I'm busy too, right? We're all busy. But the reality is you fill out this form, it's on my desk. I got to get it processed or I'm going to get in trouble, right? And that's the kind of essence we're trying to carry across to these potential clients. How are you taking more control throughout that process and starting to kind of dig more information out?
Yeah. So right after that, I kind of just get right in. I establish the need, and then I kind of
Pain
just get into
points,
questions.
right? So is that pain point part?
Yes, pain point. Are you trying to cover the final expenses, leave some money behind for the family? I see here you put you're married. Are you trying to cover that for your wife? Oh, okay, the wife and the kids. Okay, perfect. So starting off here, what I kind of do is I figure out what you can qualify for based off your age and your health. So since I confirmed that date of birth already, starting off, are you a smoker at all? And then I go through those health questions. And then this is where a toolkit kind of comes in, where you can you could just plug it right in. You don't have to know all the stuff off the top of your head, although repetition allows you to kind of know which carrier will be best for them. But then I just have them write down three options. So I'll say, John, go ahead and grab a pen and paper for me. I have a few options here. I also want you to write down some of my information. My first name, Dominic, is spelled D-O-N, and then my last name, Scalice, and my national producer number. This is kind of like my ID number for insurance. That's going to be 207, and I have them write that out. Now, I want you to write down three different options here. I want you to write down 20 as in 20,000. Right under that, write down 15 as in 15,000. And then lastly, 10 as in 10,000. Also, the company giving you the cheapest rate here is a company called Americo. They're one of our A-rated carriers for veterans. And starting off here, this is all going to be whole life coverage. So this is something that will never expire on you. Goes all the way up until age 120. So you can't outlive it even if you wanted to. And it's also level premiums, which is very important. So that means the prices I'm about to tell you here, they're not going to go up 5 years from now or anytime in the future. They're going to stay the exact price for the rest of your life. Does that make sense? Okay, and then I just go through pricing. So I make sure they write it down because what I'm really trying to figure out is what's going to be comfortable for them. I don't ever want to oversell somebody. I don't want to, if they tell me the 10,000 is comfortable, I don't want to be like, oh geez, well let's do the 20,000 then, because then that's not going to stay on the books. To your point of persistency, you want to make sure they could actually keep this comfortably. I'll ask if it's going to take any food off the table, maybe 3 or 4 times. Are you sure this is definitely going to be comfortable and affordable for you? And that's how we increase our persistency before even writing. Um, so that's a huge step in there. Uh, Going through the application as well, before I even get into an application, I will kind of tell them what it entails. So I'll say, John, now what we kind of do, have you gone through this before? Okay, so what we do is we go through a quick application. It takes 5 to 8 minutes. Now, what they're going to ask is four major things. They're going to ask for your basic demographics, who your beneficiary is going to be, your social to make sure everything lines up. And then later, they're going to ask for how you want to pay for this in the future. So, starting off here, what's your best mailing address? And just kind of reiterating what is going to be asked makes it so then when you do get to that banking point, when you have to ask for their social, then it's not like it's out of left field. They heard it before, they knew it was going to happen. So it makes them more comfortable as well.
It's great, bro. That's time under pressure. How you figured all that out. That's awesome. So, back up 2 steps. Are you getting their income? Are you asking them, what are you doing for work? Are you asking them, you retired, working, disabled? And then do you just ask them their income, or do you not try to do any budgeting for them and you just give them a price and figure out what they're comfortable with?
So we figure out based off a need as well as if they're on Social Security, if they are on disability, we will ask how much percentage wise, because that determines how much money they're getting from the state. So that kind of helps determine it. I tend to stay a little bit away from budget because I feel like nowadays, if you ask someone their budget, especially someone that's older, they're going to say, I'm like not that much left over. So you kind of have to establish this is important rather than bringing money into it as much. Um, so if they need the burial covered, the alternative is their wife has to pay for it, their son has to pay for it. So if you establish that is important enough and you fill that need, it's a lot easier than trying to figure out what all their bills are as well.
Yeah, a lot of times the seniors, majority of them, they buy with their heart instead of their wallet, right? And so they're like, oh yeah, 250 a month sounds great, and they're like, you're only making $800 a month, and your rent is 450. So how are you going to afford food, right? And so it's being very cognizant of that, which is great that
Yeah.
you're asking them 4 times. Is this number comfortable? Are you sure that you can afford this? Is this going to take any food off the table? Asking it multiple different ways. So you're giving them an out. Actually, 89 a month might be tough. Oh, perfect. I'm glad you let me know now. We can do something more like 59 or 64, which would get you about 7,500 in coverage, which still cover cremation, and then you can kind of get back
Yeah.
into it while you're on their side. You're not just pushing them for this huge premium. And then always a good line is, listen, as either income increases or bills lessen and time as progresses, I'm a broker and we can put something else on top of the books in the future. Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. No. I love it, man. So, okay, you jump in the app. And then how are you tying them down, right? How are you going, hey, don't fill any more forms. Hey, I'm your broker for life. What do you say? What are you doing at that last 30, 60, 90 seconds to solidify that Dom's their broker? And then what are some following like touch points you do? Do you call? Do you send flowers, cookies, brownies, texts? What do you do to kind of completely wrap the whole sales process up?
Yeah, so as soon as the application's finished, I tell them if they've been approved right away or if it's gone to underwriting. I like to say it in a way of, I got a little bit of good news and bad news for you. Which one would you like first? And they usually, oh, I guess the bad news. I go, all right, the bad news is it looks like you're going to be stuck with me for a while because I did get you approved for the full $20,000. Congratulations. And then I explain I'm going to be your agent for life. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to text you over my personal cell phone. I give this out to all my clients. If you have any questions whatsoever, I get back to everybody within 24 hours, if not instantly. Um, Also, if God forbid anything, when something does happen, I'm going to make sure it's my foot on the insurance carrier's neck, making sure your son John here gets paid the money that he's owed. So I also make that very known. As well as I'm going to send you over a brief overview. I know we went over a lot today, so I'm going to send it over in text form. And I also have a PDF copy of your policy already. I don't want you waiting by the mailbox. But that policy is going to come in 7 to 10 days, and you'll have a PDF copy in your email today. How did I do for you? And then I just kind of, solidify it that way. I think the text is huge, the overview text. I'll make sure I put my information in there so they have it, as well as my virtual business card. And I make sure they put my name and phone number in their contacts before I get off the phone with them. I'll tell them put Dominick Scalice, maybe life insurance after it, so you remember who I am. When that policy comes in the mail, feel free to give me a call so we can go over this together if you have any questions at all. And I just kind of and that's when I also do my referrals as well. I'll see now, is there anyone else that served that I could help out, or any family of veterans as well? And that's a good way to do it at the end as well, right after they got that great news.
What do they usually say? Yes, no. How do you push a little there? Try to get one or two?
I'll be honest, I should push harder with it. A lot of times it's kind of a shrug off, but I think what I want to do, and this is why I'm always trying to learn. I know people send out forms, so I'm going to push that a little bit more. Get the form going to where they can kind of fill it out and send it back to me, because I think that's a great way to do it as well.
So it's called rebating. You can even send I think it's up to $100 per referral. Like a lot of guys will just go, I'll give you, hey, my company does an allotment of funds towards any referrals. And
Mm.
anybody that gets a policy with us, I can get you a $20 Amazon gift card. Sometimes seniors like that, or $20 Walmart gift card. And you can use that. You can do them a PDF. I know agents that have created Google forms where it's real simple. They can open it on their phone, which is probably they have an Android or an iPhone, and they can open it up and just put in a few names and then what is your name? And they'll put in John Smith, and perfect. Now you've got a few referrals. Another angle is always, hey, who are the beneficiaries going to be? Your wife, and then the secondary beneficiary contingent will be your son. Perfect. What's John's number? All right, perfect. Would you, and then you call John. Hey, John, it's got a, or you call Tim, whatever the son's name is. I just got a policy on your dad. I just want to let you know he's approved for $20,000 with us, and he wanted me to just let you know. Perfect. Oh, that's great. Okay, awesome. And just quick question, Tim, do you have any life insurance right now, or just through work and whatnot? And then then you're on the phone with them, right? These are just simple referrals where you can get just the immediate family. And there's also, that's kind of a different angle, is the emergency response network, right? Emergency response network is, if John's our client, hey John, if when that day comes, sadly, many years from now, right? We want to make sure that the people know that you have a policy. So who would those people that could be reaching out to me to make sure that your wife gets paid or your son gets paid? Perfect. Is that your best friend? Is that one of your neighbors? Is who might be around at that time? And we call that your emergency response network, John. And so those people can get my numbers and reach out to me. I just need, 5 people that I can just go let them know that you've gotten a policy with us. And boom, now you've got 5 names, and you do that same sort of, this is who I am, this is what I set up. Do you have your affairs in order like John does? And they go, oh, no, I don't. Or I've been meaning to find someone, or I've got this policy through AAA. I bought it online. Or, Pat Sajak, he sold me a policy through Colonial Penn that I bought, 8 years ago. Perfect. Does the price keep going up on that? Yeah. And I'm not discrediting any of these banded carriers, but that's their models. They start real cheap, and then every 5 years, just like you talked about, the client enters a new age band and the price goes up. And so these are different ways, guys, for those of you that are watching, especially you, to find referrals and also to get really knowledgeable about the other products that a lot of consumers are buying, because they're not filling out forms. They're buying from commercials on TV. So perfect. So it's a follow-up text. They call you if they're interested. I love it, man.